Welcome to my humble little office. My name is R. Keith Andrews. I'm a spiritual guide and paranormal adept. The journey continues today on July 12th, 2023 at approximately 4:21 p.m. PST. Now, I've returned to this world for one primary purpose, and that is to remind people that working together, we can make this a better world for virtually everybody. Now, I build myself as a spiritual guide because the tools I offer are the same tools I use in my own day-to-day life. And the philosophies of life I talk about are the ones I personally guide my life by. With this in mind, we are not talking about tools or belief structures that may help put people on track. We're talking about ones that absolutely have. Okay, they've guided my life and they've guided quite literally thousands of others. Honestly, if you put the tools to work, I am firmly convinced that you too can turn your life around. Now, before I go any further, we have Chad Smith through the gateway with the gold. Adam Lakatos is here with the silver, and we have Dave Bailey in with the bronze. Cowie Snyder, how you doing? You've got the honorable mention. And right under the wire here, we have Nathan with the Quantum Show coming through. Glad you guys can make it. Things are changing a lot in this world. There's a lot of really, shall we say, unfortunate things taking place. Joe, how you doing? Glad you could join us. Now, for those of you that are new here, and I know more to the point, I don't recall seeing you here, Dave. So welcome aboard. For those of you that are just joining us, do understand, if you've got a question, even if it's in a topic that we're not talking about at the time, absolutely come out and ask. Okay, but when you go to ask a question, put it in all caps so I can find it, or at least put a wavy hand beside it so I can see that it's there. Now remember, all caps is not yelling at me, it is simply getting my attention. Because unlike Dave Scott at Spaced Out Radio, I do not track the pictures that well. But today, it's been delayed a couple of times, but today we are going to look at reincarnation. Is it real? Is there proof of it? Or what I'm going to call is there corroborating evidence? Okay, and what can you do with it? Is it of any use? Can you access it? All of these questions I'm going to be looking at today. And absolutely, again, if you have a question that comes up, definitely get it into the chat room. Okay, and just to be clear, if I missed your question, which is quite possible, simply repost it. Do not, do me a favor and don't take offense to it if I overlook it. Okay, because the odds are I was looking somewhere else and it just didn't work out quite that way. Also, if you take a look below this video, you'll find a whole list of ways of getting a hold of me, because some of you will have questions you're really not ready to ask in public. Okay, just keep in mind the questions you have, somebody else listening in may well have the same question. Okay, I've been doing this sort of work, quite frankly, 1986. I went professional in the consulting field. I'm still doing it to this day. Now, let's get on with the real big issue here. This is the one I like getting to. Let's see. We have here Chad. This is the post to the link to Chad's archives. Whoa, that was definitely the wrong button to hit. There we go. This is the link to Chad's archives. Absolutely drop in, take a look at them. And again, even though they are archives, if you like them, do give them a thumbs up. Do subscribe to the channel on the off chance that Chad does decide to rejoin the world of posting. I don't know if he will, but he's got some really good insights there anyway. And Nathan, where are we going? Where is that one? Right there. This is the link to the Quantum Show with Nathan. And again, we did not post that. Well, that's really silly. Okay, that's the one for Chad. This is the link to Nathan's show. And again, same idea. if you like the stream, do give them a thumbs up, do subscribe to the channel, and share the daylights out of it. Okay, and of course, we have this neat little one here, which is the link to Spaced Out Radio, where things really got pushed into hyperdrive for me. Okay, as a matter of fact, many of the people in this room were involved in really encouraging me to go on to live streaming. Now, I've got a neat little problem. I am trying to do the shorter streams, but I'm going to have to talk to somebody about the program I've got, because the volume on the program I've got, which is not this program, doesn't record volume right, which is why I ended up cutting short on the uploaded streams. Okay, but reincarnation. Think of reincarnation this way. Okay, your soul is your body. Okay, now, years back, probably a decade ago, I don't know how they pulled it off, but about a decade ago, the scientists, the global scientists, did determine that when somebody passes away, when you account for the liquid, for the removal of liquids and gases when someone dies, I don't know how they gauged it, okay, but they did corroborate it amongst themselves that there is a 2-ounce discrepancy to cover the weight that is of the person when they die and the weight that's left after all the liquids and all the gases are released. Not a pleasant thought, but it is the way it works. With this in mind, the operator of your body is your soul, okay? And they've given it an estimated 2-ounce difference. Okay, with this and this said, take a look at this sort of thing. You've got a physical body. Now, when you've got a physical car, okay, or for that matter, physical runners, okay, sooner or later, the car will wear out. At that point, you pull it over to the side of the road, you get out of the car, walk around for a while or get a lift from somebody else to go to a car dealer, find another vehicle that you like, and pick up a new vehicle. Now, when you get the new vehicle, you don't forget everything you did in the last vehicle. Okay, some of it you may desire to, especially if you were a teenager when you got your first vehicle, and then you aged a little later. Some of what you did in the vehicle may not be something you want to remember. But when we take a look at it, okay, you pick up the new vehicle. Now you've got another vehicle to move around. Where it comes to, oops, that is unfortunate there, Adam. By the way, just a quick note, and I'm going to have to apologize, even though he's a friend of mine, I'm going to have to apologize for the pronunciation of his last name. But Colweg Leitner, some of you may know him, ended up in the hospital last night, I think it was last night, might be the night before. Okay, his right side apparently is fully shut down. He's in the hospital. He's out of the danger as far as that goes. But I just want to let those of you that don't know, let you know he can use our prayers. He is in a bit of a mess. I've already spoken to Kayla, and this is how I know that he is functioning. Okay, but he's in a bad way. I had a stroke 5 years ago, annoying as all get out. Still dealing with some of it. Okay, but I don't know what the situation is right now. What I do know is that he is he's not in a good way. Aside from he's still breathing. I will keep an eye open on my other on Facebook here, just in case something happens. Just in case some sort of new information comes up. Don't know who that one is. So from that standpoint, I do want you guys, I do want people to know. But where it comes to reincarnation, your body dies. Okay, you wander around. You will, you'll eventually pick another body. Now, of course, another vehicle, if you will. That is where this whole idea of a soul contract comes in. The contract is not with the physical body. It is with the soul, the driver. Now, as you know, when we take a look at it, if you've got a vehicle, you can go certain places. Okay, if you get out of the vehicle, you can go more places. And rest assured, there's been a lot of people that have tried taking their vehicle, usually by accident, where a body will walk. This isn't necessarily a good idea. Okay, but when your physical body, that hominid thing you're walking around in, when it keels over, your soul gets out and it can go places that your body can't. Astral travel is kind of along the same lines. You get out of the body and away you go. Okay, so what we're looking at this point is reincarnation is the side effect of choosing a new vehicle. Okay, you wander around for a bit, pick a new vehicle, get in it, get up, and away you go. Okay, that's the reality behind how reincarnation comes in. Now, I do know that and I can't give you an exact date offhand, but my last lifetime, okay, I was born in 1898 in Chicago, Illinois. By 2012, I was by 2014, I was already in serious trouble with the law. Okay. Net result, I ended up having a very violent lifetime in my last lifetime. Okay. Long story short, my life ended, and I don't remember the date on this one, but my life ended in 1956, and I died of old age in Chicago Memorial. Now, with that in mind, when I came back this lifetime, I came in as a pacifist. And do I remember what I was doing? Absolutely. But can I give you exact dates of what have you? Heck, I can't give you exact dates for this lifetime. So when we're looking at reincarnation, we are simply looking at the soul finding a new body and moving forward. Now, you don't have to believe in reincarnation. I'm not here to convince you it's real. If you're going to get that kind of convincing, you're going to have to do your own research. Okay, I chalk mine up to over 100,000 clients, both business and personal, that I've dealt with in my career, where, quite frankly, reincarnation was a normal concept for them. Okay, so I'm looking at a fairly wide array of information that I personally gathered, not that I read about, because I'll tell you, I'm not a good researcher. Okay, that's just the way that life works. Where have I got this going? You should call this up just in case. Open up my email to see if anything happened that I need to know about. And I have no idea who that is. I love this. I get so many messages here that my emails are going to get closed down. It's absolutely bizarre. They're going to close the entire array. Probably not. But that said, people, where we are talking about reincarnation, okay, life, your life runs as long as it does. Some of us just get more of a run at the death part of it. But all death is a stepping stone to a new life. Okay, that's just another phase to go through. Okay, Now, Corton, yeah, that's going to work well. I was about to say, okay, can we get a show of hands for who believes in reincarnation? Okay, now here's another neat little kicker to you. Okay, off-worlders, ancient races, any species at all, any of the ones that have, that absolutely have a cognizant capacity, and I don't mean if they're just corporeal. I mean if they are intellectually aware. Matt Geek, how you doing? Glad you're here. Okay, every single one of the species I deal with they all have their belief structures. Okay, and they do have their belief structures. Virtually every one of them believes in a higher power, and those same people, because there is a higher power, at least I think it's because there's a higher power they believe in. Okay, they turn around and also believe in reincarnation, life after death, the great beyond. We can go on with all kinds of neat little lists. Okay, but reincarnation itself, in my case, I've been documenting a lot of them. Now, I keep getting asked by people, what, did you know me in a past life? The answer is quite possibly. The fact that I'm documenting them means if you can come up with a lifetime with specifics about a lifetime that you think fits, I will absolutely corroborate it if it fits. Okay. Am I going to turn around and lay claim that I was the King of England? Well, I can tell you right now, I wasn't. Okay. Was I ever King Richard the Lionhearted? No. But here's a cute little fact. I got this one in modern day from somebody that studied English history, because of the fact that, well, he grew up in England. And as he put it, King Richard was touted as being one of the greatest kings available, right? And as he put it, when you compare him to King John, King Richard was an absolute doll. He really was. Now, what do we got here? We have Adam is asking, do people from previous lives seek each other out in their current lives? This depends entirely on what the connection was. I am currently in contact with a number of people from past lives that did quite literally seek me out. Okay, some of them literally come out and went, I know you from this lifetime. You were this way, and this is where I was and how we knew each other. They've literally come out of left field and told me this. Okay, Henry, how you doing? Glad you could join us. And Susan, nice to see you. Susan Cano is here from Berkeley, California. It looks like we're getting new people every day. This is fantastic from my standpoint. Now, in all fairness, you guys may have been in here before and I just missed you. In answer to your question, Henry, the throat is working fine today. It does that every 2 or 3 months, it seems, I think. But it shuts down. I take a couple hours without saying anything, and then it goes back to normal. And then I'm good for a while. Can I explain entirely what the problem is? Certainly not. Okay. We got a lot of people coming in. What happens is they come in, they spend a minute or two, and they're gone. But this being said, from my standpoint, that's okay. I'm wondering what I'm looking at here. Yeah, we are climbing. The message is getting out, and I owe that to you guys. Okay, I really do owe that to you guys because we've got this massive message that's got to come out. Now, I was asked one day, have I ever tried this before? The answer is yes, on a few occasions. Okay, where I've actually come forward and said, look, be nice to each other. Do unto others as you desire them to do unto you. Now, this lifetime, I've gone out of my way to really emulate that. Last lifetime, it was more a question of, and this is a really bad way to do it, But in my last lifetime, I was as volatile as they got. Okay. And what I would do is go, be nice to each other or I'll kill you. And I did. I had a record for killing people that was insane. Okay. Let's see. Susan goes, Susan Cano is going, I'm here because of the Saurian connection. Intel says they, along with the Dracos, have been helping rescue children. They have been. Okay, and I know that for an absolute certainty. Okay, quite frankly, I was one of them. But it wasn't the Dracos. In my case, it was the Strazazians. Now, the people that most people refer to as the Dracos are also known as the Alpha and the Alpha Draconis. Okay, or their actual race, from what they've told me, are the Sarkon. Now, with that in mind, and I have taken to doing this because I can. One of the neat things about it being my stream. Where are we here? Art Road. Here we are. Now people go, why don't these guys show themselves on, in public? Well, think of it. Okay. Average human, 5.5 to 6 feet tall. Okay. These guys, we start with the fact that they look like this. Okay. Now, this is the picture that's going to be going into the second printing of Races of the World. These guys are 12 to 15 feet tall, meaning you're looking at spikes like that, and humans only come up to about there. Okay. Well, probably closer to there. This is the kind of thing you're asking why they don't just walk around downtown. Okay. Tell me, would this make people would this make people really relaxed if you see that wandering downtown? Cowie has just said, I was just going to say, I know you in a past life. Strange. And absolutely, Cowie, if you drop me a line, let me know what you can about the life that you know of. If it coincides with what I've got, I will absolutely confirm it. If it does not fit with something I've got, like for instance, let's say you describe a lifetime that I already know I was elsewhere in. Okay, then we can safely say, like for instance, let's say you knew me in South Africa. If you knew me in South Africa in the mid 1700s, the answer is no, because in 1760 I was running a couple of plantations. Okay. But if I've got something that contradicts it, that emphatically contradicts it on my end, I will let you know, but we'll see what happens. Yeah, Nathan goes, if those big guys were dressed in human clothes like beer shirts and Nike shoes, we'd be okay. It's a human thing. Yeah, no doubt. Somehow I don't think that they're going to be seen in bear shirts and Nikes. Mind you, Nike does make custom shoes for people. I'd be inclined to say you might want to armor the ends of them because these guys have high density bones, which means they will cut right through standard metal. Okay. Now, of course, the reality of it is this. When you remember your past lives, Henry goes, why are we forced to forget when we come back to this place? It's called sensory overload. Okay. When you come back, normally, and I'm talking about if you're human and reincarnating as another human, the average turnaround time is about 7 to 0 years. And it's a choice when you come back. Okay. You're the one making the decision to return. But the reason for the forgetting thing is because the idea is to do your best to gain the wisdom you're coming back into, not to extend your last life. and coming back after you passed away. This is why most people that when they pass away, they reincarnate on the other side of the world about 7 years later, or about 70 years later. Okay, it cuts down on the conflicts. Now, sometimes you end up with a child coming back in that remembers a reincarnation. I was talking to somebody the other day where their 5-year-old kid remembered dying in World War II. Okay, now they're, like I said, they're 5 years old, haven't had a chance to go and study anything, but the kid could tell specific details right from the guy's name all the way down to the number of his plane. I'm not sure if he remembered his dog tag. Okay, but when they went and looked up the information he was spitting out, it was all of a sudden a mess. Okay, all of a sudden it's like, okay, we've got this concrete proof. Now, it amounts to circumstantial. But it's one of those things that we look at going, well, how else could he get it? Now, Cowie's asking, can you refuse to go back to Earth or no? Absolutely you can. This is a school for people. This is where you come for one primary reason, to experience the physical world in a reasonably weak corporeal fashion with minimal sensory input. Okay, it's a way of learning the very basics of survival. Okay, but you don't have to come back as a human. You don't have to come back as you don't have to come back as you don't have to come back. You can come back if you'd like as a flower, as a tree, as a cat, as a different race, and you can take off to another world. Okay, I know literally several flips ago, I spent an entire lifetime as a Caboran. Okay, now Caboran, for those of you that don't know what it is, a Caboran is what you would call a planet. And not all planets are Caboran. Some planets evolve of their own accord. Okay, Mobius, for instance, which is the balance point on the other side of the sun, in the exact same orbit as Earth. Okay, Mobius is a planet that grew of its own accord. Earth itself is a Caboran. Okay, so we take a look at that side of it. Where are we here, Joe? Seeing one of those things walk downtown is one thing, but a cemetery is another. Cops will be all over the place. No pun intended. Absolutely. Mind you, you take a look at that walking down the street, and it's going to cause panic. Oh, heavens, Henry, I don't even bother trying to explain technology. Where are we here? The Mac Geek goes, where do you think we are before we reincarnate? On this planet as invisible souls, or another planet, or another dimension? Well, let's start with the last one. You're in the third dimension. You're in where you go, though, depending on at what point. Okay, there is a great big gathering place. I call it a gala. You probably call it purgatory, where people go in. You go and you meet a whole bunch of other souls that are also not yet reincarnated. Or some will come in visiting before they give birth to a child. Okay. And the soul will swing a deal with the new soul looking to reincarnate. And go, yeah, we'll take you on, we'll introduce you to who we can, and we'll carry on from there. So it's a question of how long you're gone. Some people for years, potentially centuries, will disappear to another part of the cosmos, but it will still be in the third dimension. Okay. Now Henry carries on with, I sure wish I could remember why I chose to come back here, because I can't imagine why anyone would choose to come here. This place is miserable. Now that right there is in all likelihood one of the reasons you came back. And one of the reasons you're in this room now is to help do exactly what can be done. And that is, we can, working together, make this so-called miserable place a place that we can enjoy. Okay, it's up to us as individuals and as a group to decide, are we going to continue propagating the miserable side of this world, or are we going to start promoting the positive side? Okay, and to put that in perspective, I literally just, as a matter of fact, do I have it? There it is. I've literally, and I've mentioned this before, I literally just started a new newsletter, totally free. But it was funny. I was talking to the owner of the restaurant that I almost live at, mentioned this to her because, like I told her, I'm not putting any functionally negative information in the newsletter at all. And she looks at me and she goes, "That's the kind of magazine I need in my office." She goes, and I said, "Well, I turn it out only by request, anywhere in the world. I don't care, because you can get either email or physical." She goes, "Absolutely, bring me a copy." So I'm taking it down to her tomorrow. Didn't get out of the house today. But that might have had something to do with the fact I was up until 2 and then got back up at 5. So it gets a little screwy. Matt Geek goes, "We can learn and grow here as humans. I think some experiences to grow as a person only happen in tough situations." Absolutely, but here's the neat little part about that, Mac. Okay, one of the biggest controversies I've run into is the people that come back to gain wisdom around cancer. Okay, now when you come in to gain wisdom around cancer, you're born into the situation, but it's your choices and your actions in this lifetime that determine, are you going to develop cancer as the actual illness, or are you going to turn your attention to working with people that are dealing with cancer, or maybe you're going to go into the research department. Okay, all 3 of those paths lead to understanding cancer. And something I will tell you about this so-called new disease, cancer, they have found about 5 years ago, they found dinosaur bones with cancer in them. Okay, now this means that cancer has been around for a very long time. Assuming, of course, you believe dinosaurs exist, or more to the point, existed. Although there are a lot of points, a lot of references and inferences that dinosaurs still roam the world today. And some of the videos that are out, okay, you really have to wonder. Now, I'm a firm believer that dinosaurs today do live, just not in as big a numbers. Okay, can I prove it? Not a prayer. I can tell you I've never seen a dinosaur in my apartment. I've never seen one come in here. That's not that, well, I've never seen a corporeal one come in here. Okay, but when you're dealing with past lives, okay, you can absolutely, as you take the time to document them and remember what you were doing, you can absolutely call on the past memories and the past skill sets to turn around and utilize those in today's world. Although I will tell you, if you're coming from the 1700s, okay, the odds of you actually remembering how to use a computer at that point, it won't be one of these ones we work on now. It's more likely to be an abacus. Yeah, Joe goes, "That is actually a great question. Why most of us choose to stay reclusive some days?" The reason for that, actually, and it's more prevalent in acknowledged empaths, but every single child is born empathic. All of you are born with the ability to feel what other people are going through. And quite often, especially once you know you're empathic, quite often you'll require that downtime to just put a little distance between you and everything out there. Okay. Oh, by the way, and this is, for me, this is big news. Okay. I showed you a couple of, about a week ago, what I was working with. So I increased the size of the weight that I'm working with at this point. Like I said, now I've got bigger ones than these. Okay. But it's going to be a question of working one step at a time with it. Like I said, I decided I was putting my body back in shape. So that's the way that went. Now, I do know way back when William Wallace was running around the world, was running around in England, England and Scotland, I knew of him. I was not William Wallace, though I did agree with a lot of what he was doing. Of course, I was a bit volatile. But you can absolutely tap into your prior lives, because you got to remember, like we were asked a little earlier tonight, why everybody forgets. Well, in order to function in today's world, you sort of have to take that information and archive it. Now, you've got a computer. You may well have archived some of your information, some of your data. Okay, same thing happens with the past life. You archive the last life. You can still go back and look into it, but you do have one obstacle. You have to accept the fact that, and I'll call it a fact, that reincarnation is a viable option. Okay, you see, there's an old saying that goes, seeing is believing. The reality I've found is that believing is seeing. Oh, there we go. Nathan goes, okay, now I can type again. Was on the phone before listening from work. Yeah, this is one of the problems I run into. When I had my stroke a few years ago, my left-hand ability to type became a bit of an issue. Yeah, Nathan goes, manifest that reality. Well, this is why I'm working on getting things back in order. And I mean, if you take a look at this cup is actually a little misleading. You'll notice what it says. I don't actually dislike humans. I do find them very primitive. I do find them very short-sighted and impatient as all get out. But I don't actually look down on them unless I happen to be taller, which is rare. But the thing is, whether we are talking about humans or a different race, we all are in the same boat. Well, Henry, you're absolutely right. How can you help this world when so many refuse to learn? We cannot help someone who doesn't want help. This is very true. You cannot help. You cannot help someone. You cannot protect somebody from themselves. But what you can do, and I'll put this out to you directly because, well, I'm subtle that way. One thing that I am an absolutely firm believer in is that when I can get this newsletter up and running to the coverage that I'd like it to get to, okay, that will help immensely. Sometimes all it takes is just a piece of good news first thing in the morning. Okay, so one thing that I will tell every one of you directly is if you take the information on the newsletter that I'm putting out and you suggest to people, because it's 100% free, whether it's email or physical, doesn't matter to me. It's still going to be 100% free. You can absolutely help with that side of it. The other thing that will help a lot of people, whether they know they require it or not, whenever you go someplace, okay, doesn't matter who you meet, smile at them and say good morning or good afternoon or whatever time of day it happens to be. Okay, but the friendlier you are with people, one day I will remember to close this. Probably only one day, but what the heck. when you look at it, okay, when you look at it, that simple, how are you doing today, to somebody sitting on the side of the road, maybe all it takes for them to go, oh, I'm not absolutely invisible. Okay. And Nathan is just updating us, which is great considering I did ask for it. More parts for his speeder bike have arrived, and he's got more still inbound. Okay. And Susan Kano has gone. Love believing you seeing, and absolutely, the reality of the situation is this: whether you believe you can or you believe you cannot, either way, you're likely to be correct. Okay. Now, I was told, well, more to the point, my parents were told that I was dead at 5 years old. I didn't agree with them. I didn't believe them, so I left them. I left the morgue. A little bit of an extreme case of disbelief, but what the heck? The other thing you also have to remember is lack of proof. The fact that I cannot prove reincarnation is real does not prove that it is not. Okay, what I can prove, and it will take a fair chunk of time to do so, is I'm not about to lie to you to make you feel better. Okay. Yes, I'm a science fiction, science fantasy writer, as well as a poet. I write self-help books. I write reference manuals and children's stories. Can I prove any? I can prove that I write all those because I can pull them down one at a time and show you which ones are in stock, which are all 8 of the ones I've got. The newsletter, August newsletter, will be coming out. Today is the 12th. Within 5 days, I will have it tied off and start sending it out to people. By the way, the same thing, Henry, applies to the books I'm writing. Again, and yes, this sounds like a sales pitch, and it sounds like, oh, if you do this, it'll help people. It will. Okay, I'm absolutely certain of it. The fact of the matter is, anybody can offer you any tool you choose, that they are able to. But unless you pick the tools up, you're not going to have much luck with them. Okay. The best carpenter tools in the world are completely useless. They are completely useless if you don't use them. Adam, the answer is you absolutely can. I will absolutely have it in print by then. Susan, just to give you an idea. No, not that one. Where's the other one? Oh, down below, of course. Okay, Susan, this is directly from your standpoint. Like I said, I've got them in stock. Okay, and these are literally in Canada or the continental U.S. $30 in your hand. Okay, delivered. Now that's Mr. Dreamcatcher, and the sequel to it is Mr. Dreamcatcher Returns. Okay. And that being said, so getting a hold of them is very easy. Because quite frankly, well, they're right here in stock. I'm actually the only place you can get them. And I'll cover that little mess in a while, maybe. Well, no, I will in a while. But this is the email address, and this works both for email transfer or for PayPal. Okay. That's the easiest way to get a hold of it. Now, if you want, there is also, this is a website that is actually up and running. I just have to get it updated a little because I got a lot of work I got to do, but that's a learning curve for me. But there you have it. Okay, where did it go? Mouse isn't doing what I'd like it to. There we are. Oh, Adam, I do appreciate the accolades on that part. That is very much appreciated. I am starting to really look at upgrading the different websites I've got, but I'm on Facebook, LinkedIn, and Twitter, as well as YouTube. And by the way, the nice little part, the government may well, if things go well for me in 2 days, I may just get the backing to get the support to build the publishing company properly. Okay. Because my holdup, as I've told you guys, has been marketing. But I will figure that out. In the meantime, the other nice little part about what I'm doing, and all of this I do here, everything that I do in the newsletter, all of it is free. Okay. Do I charge for consulting directly? You bet I do. But think of it this way. If I don't generate an income somehow, how am I going to be able to deal with helping the number of people that I have the potential to help? Okay. That's just the reality of it. So when I look at that, okay, it really boils down to a very simple issue. I said we can make this world a better place. Now, I can't do it on my own. I can make my world a better place, okay, which is why, when I decided I was changing my health, first and foremost, I only wear these when working on the computer. Okay, I wear these ones when I'm working on the computer, or these ones when I'm watching TV from across the room or driving. Other than that, I no longer wear glasses, period. Because the neat part is, used to be, if I held my glasses right there, I couldn't physically see them. Okay. I decided that wasn't going to work for me anymore. So I turned around and did something about it. Didn't like the fact I hit 246 pounds and went, I'm dropping it. So that's what's happening. That's what happened. I'm down under the 200 pound mark. Still having trouble cutting it back under the 190. But I'm still way under the 240. Okay. And the other neat little part is when I started a couple of months back, I was using the little guys. This is what I'm working with now. But that's the size of the weights I was working with before. I just had to upgrade. Okay. And I do have other weights that are bigger. Okay. They're not fancy. I don't have to go to a gym. I do this in my own home. Okay. And will I change my wardrobe? Yeah, I will. But I will tell you, right now we are sitting at, what are we sitting at here? We require, I need to take a look at that. 26, so we're looking at 52, 82, 84. We're looking at about 84 degrees-ish in the house right now. I don't know what it is outside, but I'm sitting somewhere in the mid 80s right now. Way too warm. I mean, I'm comfortable enough, but this is a question of, I don't desire my life to stay the way it is. If you look at my previous videos, okay, my office used to be a lot worse shape. The other thing is, where it comes to reincarnation, now here's the thing. There was a time when I lived there was a lot of times I lived on the street. Las Vegas, how you doing? Glad you could join us. Yeah, Adam's just saying we're sitting at 27 according to the truck. Yeah, so you're about the same temperature I am. I missed you coming in there, Frost Kitten. My apologies, but welcome aboard. Glad you could join us. Things are improving, and I have every intention on continuing to make them do so. Let's just see what's happening here. I'm quite happy to say right now, and like I said, the number of subscriptions I've got is pocket change compared to the number of people that watch. Okay. But the reason I look at the subscription levels is because it gives me an idea of whether I'm reaching more people. Ideally, and do understand, years, we are talking centuries back. Okay. I literally spent a lifetime where I was standing on a soapbox and just telling people about the benefits of working together. Right. And I encouraged people that were at odds with each other. I spent years trying to tell people that. I spent, 40 years in the Roman Senate trying to protect the serfs, and the commoners from the ravages of what many of the politicians at the time were doing. Okay. In the end, it went a little sideways because you guys are correct. Many, many, many people get it in their head they're better than you are because they got more money. Well, I'll tell you, when we had the fire here in Kelowna back in 2003, the so-called wealthy people coming out of the rich areas that were getting evacuated had no clue how to cope. The people that were poor were all banding together really solidly. Now, I'm essentially, guys, I am literally counting on you. Some of you guys are quite frankly very wealthy. And this is great. There is nothing wrong with an accumulated amount of material wealth. Although I will warn you, you're not taking it with you. Okay. So, from my standpoint, and I should have paid more attention when I was younger. That should have, by the way, applies to my perception, not somebody else saying you should do this. Okay. Now I'm working on building it. And now my credit rating is almost as high as it's ever been. In the next couple of weeks, I should break it. Yeah. Adam says, if my investments skyrocket, I'll be the wealthy. And the one thing I will caution you of there, Adam, and I see it happen way too often, just always, always, always remember where you came from. Okay. And it's that philosophy that led me to work out a net profit distribution that puts 80% of my net profit going back into the community, back to the people that are helping, back to the strangers I don't know. I was in a grocery store the other day, and I spent a lifetime where it was literally, I literally had nothing to eat. I would steal. I wouldn't bother just going after money. I would steal food to simply survive. Now, I've seen many people go through that. Frost Kitten goes, I'm rich in spirit. This is fantastic, Frost Kitten. It really is. And I know for an absolute certainty, being rich in spirit means you'll reach out and help anybody you can. Okay. But you guys are correct. You cannot help the unwilling. Okay. Joe goes, I don't lift weights anymore because of my bad back. I just have 2 steel 20-pound dumbbells in my bedroom. So how many reps for each arm without putting my back out, and how long? Joe, I love the question. Okay, you don't require the bar. Okay. And all I can do is tell you what I work with. Okay, this is 10 pounds plus the bar, so probably about 12 pounds. Now, I am not a physical trainer. Okay, I was working with 2 of these. Okay, I was working with that, which was only 5 pounds between them. But I am not a physical trainer, but what I do, and you can do this sitting down so you don't have to worry about it. Okay, all you do is grab it in one hand, whatever weight you can work with. If you haven't been lifting for a while, frankly, start off with your 2.5 pound weights. So you keep it obviously balanced the same. And as far as how many reps, all you do is put it down, drop it to full length and bring it back up. And that's pretty much as fast as I go. Number of reps from my standpoint, I work with 10 reps to an arm and I do 3 sets. Okay, that's all it is for it. Okay. That's the way I use it. And what do we got here? Adam goes, I've got a pocket full of dreams. Gee, I got a whole backpack full. But actually, I've got a portable hold full, but that's another issue. Skip to Malou, how you doing? And what is this? Physics is only here, not spiritual. Oddly enough, the reality is I've come to understand it is Earth itself is a place where we mix physical and spiritual world. Okay, where the two do mesh quite nicely. But it boils down to this. When your head and your heart are in conflict, follow your heart, but use your head to get there. Now, I take a look at my memories when I was, I take a look at my memories when I was taken by Attila the Hun. Okay, I became a very violent young lad there, full of hatred, full of anger, and completely uncontrollable. Okay, but I also took a look at that and watched the way people were treated. And bringing back that memory to this lifetime, I'm going, there's a lot of people on the street that are there because they don't have a functional option. Now, you guys are right. If they're choosing to put them into take drugs and what have you, that's their choice. But you got to remember, they may have gotten onto the drugs as either an escape or because somebody set them up. But it is still their responsibility. Okay. I'm a firm believer if I can do it, you can. Okay. And as a very old saying goes, all that I do, thou shalt do and more. Meaning, if I can walk away from drugs, if I can walk away from alcohol, so can you. Okay. You don't have to have support, but it's definitely easier when you have functional support. And this is why I say, if you've got a problem, absolutely drop me a line. Okay. Do I consult? I've dealt with people with suicide runners. I've dealt with people. I had one lady to phone me up, and I have no idea why she called me. Okay. After she had, after she had been unfortunately assaulted in a very bad fashion, she went to the doctor, into the hospital, got dealt with, had that whole mess done for her. And then she turned around and of all the people in the world, she called me and relayed what she had gone through. Well, according to her, a few months later, if I hadn't dealt with her the way I had, she just simply punched her own ticket and been done with it. I'm not perfect by any means, but I'm absolutely going to be dead honest with you. And Skip and Lou's going, it's a mess to be alive these days. Always tomorrow and hope. And that is exactly what I'm looking at. I'm going, okay, tomorrow, today is the tomorrow you talked about, that you dreamed about yesterday. Today is also the yesterday you will talk about tomorrow. But it's up to you what to do in the here and now. Okay, you can take a look at where your life is. Now, there's not a thing you can do about where your life, how you got to where you are. But you can certainly alter the direction it's on. Okay. And, the reality is, Skip to Malou, I did get the email you sent. I haven't translated it yet, but I did get it. So you have the option of doing something with your life now, whatever dream you have. At this point, he's just powder. But he was, needless to say, he wasn't exactly that tall. Real stocky individual. Okay, and I'll tell you, he had muscles where people shouldn't have muscles. The guy was built like a freight train. And talk about reflexes. And by the way, I don't know if he was born ambidextrous or learned to be ambidextrous, as in able to use either hand. Okay, I don't know because I didn't meet him until he was an adult. Okay, I was only 10 when I met him. I would suspect he was in his mid-20s. Okay, but he was one violent and absolutely brilliant strategist. I just didn't like his lieutenants. You know, I had a bit of a temper when they killed my parents and then kidnapped me. 10 years old, they decided I was going to work for Attila. And, the reality of it is that was the way life was at that point. And if you think of Attila's methods, he did have one heck of an empire. And he ruled it with an iron fist. But he wasn't the worst of the worst. His brother was a bigger problem than he was. At least Attila the Hun had some sort of moral compass. His brother, violent as all get out, he didn't care who you were, and very short-sighted. But what I learned from Attila was plan your maneuvers properly. And when you're planning to conquer something, when you're planning to accomplish a dream, is how this translates into the current world. Plan what you're aiming for. Whatever you're aiming to do, plan it, get a big picture in your head. He desired to rule the world. And he made it very clear to everyone he met. He was going to rule the world. Okay. And he went about it very systematically, eliminating the opposition. Okay. And converting the survivors to his way of thinking. Now, I'm sitting here telling you I'm going to build an empire where 80% of my net profit will end up going back to people that are working with me, to whether they're employees or contributors, doesn't matter. Okay, 80% of it will go back to them and to the customers. I've figured out how to pay word of mouth advertising, and that is one thing I've got to get done this week, because according to the schedule that I've got laid out, I've got to make sure I've got all that in order before the 17th of this month. So needless to say, I got my work cut out for me. Now, that's unfortunate. And we have that neat little problem. So, and I know I'm not at the bottom of the hour, but the nice part is I don't actually have a schedule I have to worry about too much. But I am going to take half a break here. Just stay put. I'm not going very far. The coffee pot's only about 50 feet up the hallway. So I will be right back. Priorities, don't we know? Well, like I say, guys, I am back. Or more to the point, I've got my coffee. So, when I was with Attila the Hun, the one thing I learned from him. Okay, now do understand. I was a kid when I ran with Attila the Hun. I myself was not Attila the Hun. Okay, I just wasn't. Now you got to remember, with all the famous people you know of throughout history, only one of you, and not necessarily one of you guys, but only one person was that individual. Crystal, how we doing? Glad you could join us. Yeah, I startled the heck out of my other half the other day. Yesterday. Well, actually, the night before last, I told my other half that I was going to have to go to a funeral. That I was going to have to go to a funeral, right? And of course, she was very sympathetic that somebody had died. It wasn't until this morning that I got a hold of her and let her know that, yes, I did have the funeral. What is today? This is Monday. I think this is Monday. Should be Monday. Might not be. No, this is Wednesday. It gives you an idea how well time works, doesn't it? But, this morning, this morning I let her know the funeral I went to was my coffee pot after 15 years of hard work passed away. And where are we here? Las Vegas. No, this is not the Kansas City Chiefs. This is the Kelowna Chiefs. Okay, this is a local sports team. Now the reality is, I'm not a sports fan of any sport. Okay, but this particular shirt, the young lass that gave it to me, the young lass that gave it to me is going to be, you may know her if you watch the MMA. You may know her as Sweet Maria. Okay, she's the one that gave me this shirt because, as it turned out, it didn't quite fit her. Okay, she found it, and I don't know whether it was too big or too small or what the story was, but she handed it to me, so it'll be around until I wear it out. In fairness, I'm not even certain what they actually play. Okay, but I don't pay much attention. I don't pay much attention to sports anyway. Although you will be happy to know I do have a sports section in the newsletter. But this one you'd find out anyway. But here's the entirety of the sports section. And this is all I'm going to be putting into it as far as I can tell. Who knows what will happen down the road? Where are we here? Sports section. Economics, career, entertainment. Here we go. This is literally an excerpt from the first edition. Okay. Sports section. Sports and competition. Whichever team or individual gets the most points in a competition wins. Individual races and competitions. The car, horse, or runner that crosses the finish line first or fastest will be declared the winner. Whichever team or individual gets the most points in a competition wins. For a more detailed report, seek out almost any other newspaper, magazine, post, newsletter, or news channel or site, and you can get the added information. I don't follow sports, but I figured I should put in a sports section anyway. Yeah, I had another. I used to have a 30 cup urn, right? That one ran for 25 years, and then finally 25 years, 7 days a week, 365 a year, right? 24 hours a day. After 25 years, that poor 30 cup urn cooked off. So I've got to ask you, Las Vegas, are you by any chance a Chiefs fan? My ex is definitely into the sports. My youngest son pays attention to sports. Yeah, in all fairness, he probably does. I don't have a basketball jersey that I know of. But again, for me, it was a case of it being the right price. Because I figure, I like clothes that look nice. I like the finer things in life. I just don't figure I should have to pay $800 for a shirt. And I know places where I could do that. Just doesn't make any practical sense to me. But, Las Vegas goes, I used to have season tickets. It's things like this. Like, I look at the idea of season tickets. For me, that doesn't amount to much because I don't deal with crowds that well to start with. And then, of course, we have the other problem of I don't follow sports. So my whole catch on sports in the whole thing. And even when I was when I was involved in sports in a more direct fashion, And I don't mean this lifetime, because that just never took place. Okay. Even then, my whole outlook on it was simple. If both teams are enjoying themselves, then we're ahead of the game. Yeah, there we go. That's what I wanted. Oh, yeah, Las Vegas goes, I used to have season tickets when I lived in Kansas City. For me, it just never amounted to a whole lot. But the important factor, and this applies to day-to-day life, including whatever you're doing for a career. Now, I go back 700 years, okay, to the time of the Black Death. Okay, I loved what I was doing. It was hard work, okay, but I loved what I was doing. Okay, the only problem I had was so many people were dying to get into my establishment at the same time. We sometimes had to wait a couple of days to get them in, which, by the way, did not provide for a great aromatic display. But if you think about anything now, if you think you may have been somebody in the past, or you may remember a past life, do yourself a favor. Do not research it. Think about it. Write down everything you can remember, all the way to the style of clothing, whatever you enjoyed eating, if you remember what you did for a living. Like in 1828, so I was 33, 1795 to 1828. Okay, I was a fisherman in Northern Ireland. Okay, as a matter of fact, and one day I hope, and that's one of the things on my odd bucket list, is if I go to Dublin, Ireland, and go due northwest from Dublin, Ireland, I'll end up on the northwest banks of Ireland itself. That's where my fishing village was. Now, I had a lot of fun in that world, in that life. We were poor as all get out, but we enjoyed what we did. If you're doing a job that you don't enjoy, I'm cautioning you, do not quit your job until you've got a replacement income. Yeah, Las Vegas goes, the Las Vegas Golden Knights just won the Stanley Cup. It's hotter than hell here. Hockey makes no sense, but the locals love the Knights. I mean, you got to give them one thing. If it's hotter than Hades at this point, and you've got a hockey arena available, if for no other reason, going to watch the game, sitting down in an ice, in a room that is full of ice, is a good way to bring your temperature down, if you're careful. But again, if you don't enjoy it, going there doesn't make a lot of sense. My ex used to be an extreme, well, still is an extreme sports fan, right? And I made the mistake one day. We were sitting in the living room, and she's watching the Vancouver Canucks, and they're playing hockey, and of course they were playing hockey, but they're doing things, and she is screaming at the TV. And I know some of you sports fans out there will do just that. Okay. I don't think that's necessarily a good idea, Frost Kitten. You may run into problems with the authorities. Okay. You also may prove, depending on what you look like, you may prove to be very distracting to the local other visitors and potentially the hockey players. But to each their own. But I will warn you, that kind of behavior, yes, it'll be cooler, but it may not let you stay in they may not let you stay in the arena that long. But Henry goes, how can I tell if these memories are real or I have just come up with them from things I've watched? One of the biggest ways of telling is if they're real. okay, when you come across an event, you will have an age appropriate emotional response to whatever the event. Okay. Now, there's been a couple of movies I've watched where I've had that, but just thinking about them, you can't know for 100% certain, in all honesty. But sometimes you'll find a movie actually triggers a past life memory. Okay. I mean, it was really neat when I watched Independence Day. Okay. And the first time that the ship broke orbit to go after, to get out near the end of the movie. When that broke orbit, I had a complete emotional lockdown. Okay. And, at the time it happened, the person that was with me had to actually help me recenter. Same problem occurred when they walked in underneath Area 51. Okay. My immediate comment was, well, the setup's right, but the people are wrong, as in the actual configuration for the aliens. The layout was absolutely on the money. But when you have an emotional reaction, okay, future life memories, the answer is no, because you can't have future life memories, Frostkitten. But have I seen and am I orchestrating my next life? Absolutely. Okay. And that can be done exactly the same way as you plan out this life. Okay. I'm orchestrating things now, and I will not be able to prove it. Okay, but I'm orchestrating things now. I will be born into a family with money. I don't know how they got it. I don't care how they got it, because I'm going to take that money, and when I gain power over the money, as in when I become the head of the household, I will redirect whatever is going on to make sure it's doing what I desire it to do, which is quite literally the same thing I'm doing now. Okay, and I'm taking my world the way it is and changing it. You take care, Susan. Thank you so much for sharing your time with us. You can have any life you desire down the road. You can have it now. Okay, and I'm telling you, the easiest way in the world to do it is to decide that first and foremost, these 4 words, if you don't have them on your fridge already, I've got these 4 words on my fridge, in my office, and quite seriously, I've got them on the front door to my apartment, on the outside of it. Okay, 4 words, the most powerful 4 words that I've ever run into in any language. I am worth it. Those 4 words, if they are not already on your fridge, do yourself a favor. Don't take my word for it, but put them up on your fridge so that anytime you walk into the fridge, you get to read them. It will help reorganize and reorient your brain to a much more successful future. Okay, now Henry goes, I believe I may have been in Sengoku, Japan. I despise samurai as drunken thugs and bandits who harass peasant farmers for entertainment while preening about honor, but I have no specific details. And just all you do there, Henry, mark that down. Get yourself, whether it's a file to do it in or a note on your computer, but put it down and really take a look at it. See if you can pull the feeling back a little and get a look at who you are. Okay. And yes, you can call it your imagination if you will. Okay. Nice thing about it is important from your standpoint to know where you come from. I'd lay odds with that kind of an issue, with that kind of a memory, that you have absolutely no tolerance for people that are behaving like drunken fools or are not honor bound. I would lay odds that's a backbone of a lot of what you do. Frostkitten, where it comes to memories, I have trouble remembering what I had for breakfast this morning. But some of my past lives I can remember clear as a bell. Okay. And, this is just one of those weird things. Now, I will tell you, one of the neat things people have asked me about some of my past lives, where it came to writing the Yldrbacian Chronicles. A lot of the information, well, almost all of the information that is contained there is either from memories I personally had, or they are from things that other situations I've run into. The characters themselves most of them are built either by myself or by other gamers. Okay, for various different role-playing games. The ones that aren't are based on people that I have personally met and things I've seen them go through. So yes, the story in the saga is science fiction, science fantasy, depending on who you talk to. Okay, but there is a fair chunk of information in there that is transferable. Okay, and I have already actually found out how to tie all of it together, which was kind of a neat little turn. And again, guys, if you're interested in any of the books that I've got available, absolutely drop me a line. Okay, the email address I put up earlier. Frostkitten, the answer is no. I play Skyrim on my own. I can't track the computer properly to play the online games. I did try EverQuest for a while, but that didn't work out all that well. Me and computers just don't get along well. The fact this is running at all is a real bonus. Okay, but do I play online as far as that goes? I've thought about it, but every time I look at them, they are either moving too fast, where my eyes cannot track the change in the pixels. Well, number one, on the computer, where I don't know if I've got it handy. Not visible anyway. I have played Skyrim still on my own on the computer using a controller. But this idea of playing with one hand on the keyboard and the other on the mouse doesn't work for me because my left hand doesn't work properly and my eyes don't track anyway. Yeah, Adam goes, Henry, I knew there was a reason we don't go that we don't go to Brooks anymore. Way back up. But no, the reality is, as far as playing on the phone goes, not a prayer I'll ever install that. I don't even have the internet hooked up to my phone. I use it for literally phone, text, and FaceTime. And that's it. Okay, well, that's not entirely true. I use it to check the time. I would use an analog clock, but when I'm driving around, they don't have one. Mind you, my car does. I just saw something there. The nice part about it, take a look at today. Now, you got to remember, where it comes to reincarnation, today, tomorrow, and yesterday are referential. The only time you can ever do anything is in the here and now, today. Okay? But you can plan the way your life is going to evolve, not just the life of your vehicle. This being your vehicle. Well, this is my vehicle. Okay? So, from that standpoint, you absolutely can design the way you desire the rest of your life to transpire. Okay, let me ask you this, guys. And I know every single one of you has at least one goal that you would really like to get, really like to make happen. Okay, every one of them, aside from time frames, almost every one of the goals that you've had or the dreams that you had when you were younger, aside from getting them done by an age that you're now older than, most of them are attainable. Okay, and this is why I said I have already started designing the book to put together a poetic anthology for anybody that's looking to get a book and get a poem in print. I've already figured out how much, the whole 9 yards, and I did that with the insight of my local printer. Okay, but here's the neat little part about it. I'm building an empire. There are many publishing companies that are out there, absolutely, but not a one of them pays for word of mouth advertising. And frankly, in my experience, they don't do what they've been saying. And no, I'm not going to tell you who I've dealt with. Okay, I will tell you, from my standpoint, I've decided to turn to the smaller peoples to get the jobs done. You know, Skip to Malou goes, world peace was my goal when 3 years old. It still is my goal. And I'm 60 at this point. I still feel wholeheartedly that world peace can be attained. You know, there used to be a time when war was considered a real economic boost. And at the time, it basically was. It would put a lot of people to work. Okay, but I will tell you this. We quit shooting at each other. It's going to be far easier to work on small projects, to do proper research, to do operations, for the doctors involved. Any doctor that worked in Vietnam or in World War I or World War II, any of them know, or any of the other wars, I guess the Gulf War is one of the more recent ones. Well, plus the Russian-Ukrainian one, you may have to redesign that there, Vroskit. Mine did. But, my 30 cup urn, Dad had for 15 years, had it for 15 years, running 24/7. Okay. And then he turned it over to me, and I had it for another 10. So what do we got here? Small businesses care and Nathan's going, small businesses care and have heart about their projects. Forget big businesses. My little perspective. Absolutely. And this is why I've decided I'm going to turn to the smaller businesses and get things to work that way. Because I do not intend, even though I've worked out the ratios where 80% of my net profit will be able to go. Okay, 80% of my net profit will continue to go to the employees, the contributors, and the customers. Even when I get to the point of I've already worked it out, even at $1 billion a month coming in, I will be able to maintain that same ratio. Okay, it's a phenomenal setup from my standpoint. I like it anyway. But this is why I say I will be working with birthdays down the road. Okay, as I found, because again, I do not desire any of you guys, any of the people in this room, this chat room here is essentially what I'm looking at as family. I will do what I can to help. Okay, but and where birthdays come in, I will eventually get them to use. Haven't figured out entirely what I'm going to do with it, aside from birthday cards. But that will change as we go along. Football, how you doing? Glad you could join us. The Mac Geek just came in and goes, my 12 cup Hamilton Beach percolator is about 10 years old and still works like new. Yeah, I was looking at that. Turns out that the one that just died, the one that I said lasted 15 years, that was a Hamilton Beach. Now, today's world, most of these things are designed to last 2, maybe 3 years, if you're lucky. Okay. However, I'm not an electrician. I'm not electronically inclined at all. But I did just get handed a neat little piece of information that I never even thought about. And if you've got electronics that you don't know how to fix, check with your local university, school, or college. Doesn't matter. It turns out the one here has once a year, they've got an event where they say, bring whatever electronics you have that aren't working. Bring them in, we'll fix them for free. Okay. They do it as part of their class. Just a thought. Okay, because I don't know about you, but free I can work with. In this case, I don't feel bad about getting it for free because obviously they're learning at the same time. Yeah, Mac Geek goes, I know how to take apart percolators and repair them. There are YouTube videos on how to do it. I love fixing stuff. I used to think I was really good at fixing stuff. I could pull apart just about anything, put it back together and have it work, and still have parts left over. You know, I'm thinking this was a good thing. And I found out that wasn't always a good option. You know, but like I said, and it's been the way I've looked at the world. I just didn't care one way or the other about money for the most part. And did I? Yes, I did. You know, the reality from my standpoint is this. Okay, I intend on having the best of the best. I'm not going to worry about the outside of my building. I live in an apartment. Okay, I'm more concerned with what I've got inside the building. Okay, net result, I will pick up furniture that is more up to my liking. But I gotta go and talk. I've got to get replacement dining room chairs. But I'm not going to bother anymore with the secondhand ones. I'm going to the oak shop and I'm going to get a half a dozen matching oak chairs because I like oak. No other reason. Okay, I picked up, when I first moved out of my house, I picked up gold flatware. What was it? 18 karat plate. My mom looks at me and goes, why did you buy that? I said, because I can. Now I lived on the street in a past life. I was a fisherman, just a commoner. Okay. I've also lived very wealthy. Now, I will tell you this. The fact that I have lived a very wealthy life, all that told me was I know how to do it, where I don't have to look down on somebody because they don't have as much money as I've got. Frostkitten goes, I can break anything by looking at it. I'm not sure if that's a good thing, but that's pretty much the way I work with computers. That's why when people go, well, aren't you worried about the computers taking over? I'm like, I get agitated, they fry. I'm not overly concerned. But I remember way back, I think it was in about the 1400s, and I'd have to go back and check my notes. But I used to be a thief. Okay, but here's the thing. I was a specialist. I was a lockpick specialist. And I picked a very simple way of looking at it. I'd hear word that somebody had got an unpickable lock. They'd pay and bought the state of the art. And I'd listen and catch wind of where they were. And then I'd case the place. Wait to find out where they were and then watch the person. Okay. And I turned around, and when I followed the person, I'd find out if they were a decent person or a creep. Didn't matter what their income was. I could have cared less. Okay. But if they were a decent person, what I would do is I'd go into the house, I'd break into the house, and I'd break into their lockbox. I'd clean the lockbox out. But here's where it went sideways. I turned around, I'd take all the money out of their lockbox, and I'd leave a simple note. Okay, because they were saying, it was unbreakable. I just paid a fortune for this, and it's absolutely unpickable. So I'd leave a note in there. You were wrong. Whether you were wealthy, whether you were poor, it didn't matter. But the twist on it was, if you were a decent person, I would take all of that money that I took out of your lockbox, and I would put it somewhere in your house that was real easy to come across. Most of the time, that meant I put it underneath your pillow. Okay. I wouldn't take a plug nickel. Right. If the person was a creep, if he was the kind of person that walked along and was derogatory towards people, looked down on people and treated them worse because they didn't have as much money as they did, right? I'd take all of that money. I'd keep about 20% of it, basically a couple of weeks survival. Okay. And then I'd turn around and distribute the rest of it into the houses. And yes, again, I'd break into people's houses. And I would put money in their house. Okay. Never left a message, just here you go. And I'd walk away. But, even as a thief, I didn't do well as far as I'm going to steal for me. The neat part was halfway through it, partway through that lifetime, one of the people that I was working with, I ended up meeting her this lifetime. And at that point, she happened to be a he. But he was a partner. He was my partner. Had been for a number of years, and then he crossed me. So I ended up doing him in. But there was another chap that I hooked up with, and he used to run with me on my runs. Now, he too was a lock specialist. He too was a master locksmith. But we weren't in competition. I went after the gems. Okay, I went after the money chests. He went after chastity belts. So we didn't have any problem. And of course, none of the people that we broke into the house for, none of them ever said a word about what happened to the money I took. Some reason, none of them actually turned my friend in either. To this day, although he is, now this was the same guy, by the way, that I had spent a lifetime with during the Black Death. To this day, he still hangs around my house. I kind of figured with your name there, Mac, I kind of figured you were probably a computer tech. For me, I just find them frustrating. But that's why it was such an interesting turn when I was talking to you originally about getting a new computer. I laid out what I was dealing with. You turned around and went, okay, you work with IBM. For you, stick with the IBM. It's probably going to be less of a headache. Which right there, people, tells me that Mac Geek is absolutely decent people. This is the kind of people that are being pulled and that are coming into this chat room. The kind that will go out of their way to help other people. Okay, this is what we've got to take with this world and ship this kind of an atmosphere out to the rest of the world. Okay, now I will tell you, from my standpoint, I couldn't be happier than with the way things are going. Yeah. Mac goes, when I switched to Mac, I had a headache for 3 months until I learned it. They are way different than PC. Absolutely they are. My brother used to say, IBMs are for computer programmers. Macs are for computer operators. Now, do understand, my brother, first of all, was a computer programmer. Okay. Much more importantly, he had a tested IQ, repeatedly tested IQ, in excess of 180. So we're not talking about a person that really was slow on the uptake. And just to make matters more interesting, he was also an avid gamer. As in, played tabletop Dungeons and Dragons until, he died at 64 years old. He was still playing Dungeons and Dragons. And here I am 60, I'm still playing it. So I mean, we take a look, past lives are really useful from the standpoint of you've probably done a lot of the things before. Pretty much, Frost Kitten. Yeah, absolutely it does. Matt Geek goes, playing D&D will keep you young. It uses your mind a lot. Absolutely. I've got a character right now that he's because of the way that we run the game, I right now am running a half drow, half orc, druid bard psionicist. The psionic side of it just kicked in, right? But he currently is like, he's neutral. I mean, he is neutral evil and will quite readily protect the dog while the owner gets beaten to death. But he's a druid. What can I say? But then I also am playing a Shadowrun character where my character is a troll. Okay, but talk about a quick troll. But the thing, and again, a lot of the time when you're looking at things, okay, when you're looking at where your interests are or where your phobias are, many times I have found if you've got a fear that you can't explain, that just doesn't make sense, like for instance, growing up in the middle of the prairies, okay, or in the middle of the outback, away from the ocean, where would you possibly develop an absolute unshakable fear of drowning? If you're out in the middle of a desert and you've never seen ocean, where would you get that? Unless it comes from a past life memory. Okay. Or how about the people that are born knowing how to fix things or knowing how to speak a language that isn't spoken in the house they're born to? Okay. These are just a couple of the things that may be brought across from a past life. Okay. And absolutely, these are things that you can reawaken. Okay, now I'm going to have a heck of a time with some of the stuff I remember, because first and foremost, I haven't always been in a human form. Not this lifetime, but on Earth, most of my lives have been in human form. Okay, I've documented, at least in cursory form, either 18 or 20 lifetimes on this planet. Now, I made a decision before the planet was even built that I would be here and I would help take care of the planet. I would help take care of Itza until she died. Well, she's not even in her middle life yet. She hasn't even got that far yet. Needless to say, I'm scheduled to come back here time and again for a while. But this also means that I'm starting to draw on the old ideas that I had. How did I turn around and get people to pay attention to what I was saying before? Okay, I've got a couple of lifetimes I did that with. I'm not going to utilize the one that I got people to listen to me by telling them, either do what I tell you, or I'm going to barbecue your house with you in it. And yes, I was like that at one point. This lifetime, not a prayer. Essentially, Henry, the answer is yes. An older teenager at this point, but yes. And this is part of why you still see her getting upset on occasion. Okay, but now right now I know that, and I know that sounds really bad when I tell you I'm not an astronomer, I'm not a geologist, but I do know that Itza herself, that's the name she told me that she introduced herself as. You may know her as Gaia, you may know her as Mother Earth, or just straight Earth, or Mother Nature for that matter. I call her Itza. Okay. But I know for an absolute certainty, she right now is about 5.5 billion years old. So she is likely to last, if we put it in Terran terms, she's likely to last another 5 to 10 billion years. You guys aren't going to be around when that ends. Okay, you may be living here again, but you certainly won't be in your current body. Okay, now this body, one of the things that I am turning around, and I'm turning back to Itza, okay, is I'm targeting still, and this is a childhood goal, I'm targeting hitting 137. Okay. Now I'm only 60. This means I got another 70 years to go. Well, 80. That is one of the things that I keep trying to point out to people. And I'm telling you, Henry, Henry's just saying she's beautiful and gorgeous for allowing us fleas to live on her back. I hope humans can stop destroying her soon. Okay. If they don't, she will retaliate. Okay. But that said, okay, what we have to realize is we have the power, quite literally, the people in this room have the ability, and I'm asking for your help to do this, to send a shockwave around the world. Okay. To send a shockwave around the world to help turn the world back around. Now, football goes, how were people in the past able to live a long time? Number one, lack of toxins in the air. Number two, physically, they pushed themselves. Okay, they went, they got dirty, they got busy with life. Three, they were on the whole nice to each other. Now, do understand there were still wars, but that's because people that got into power went, that person's different, so I want you to go kill them. And if you don't go kill them, I'm going to kill you. Fear is a good motivator. It's a lousy way to live. Okay. Oh, sure, they ate fast food there, Mac. Mac Geek says they lived a hard life and didn't eat fast food. They did so. You realize how quick a rabbit runs when you're shooting an arrow at it? They were very fast, but people were not afraid. They were not living in fear of their own shadow. That stress is what's killing so many people. Okay. And this is one of the motivators for putting my newsletter together, is I refuse to contribute to the stress level if I can avoid it at all. Yes, I'm going to question things. But the fact of the matter is it's a combination of things, not the least of which, and if you go to the so-called third world countries, first newsflash, there are no third world countries. We got one world. Okay, but the people that have virtually nothing in Western society's perception are some of the happiest people you ever see. Okay, when I was a kid, you would take a stick and a hoop and call it a game, and you spend the afternoon outside. In today's world, you have a power outage and you're just hooped. Okay, I kid you not. I see kids with a power outage and they sit there staring at the idiot box. Very aptly named, by the way. But way back, if you desire to do something, if you desire to accomplish anything, get off your tail feathers. That's how people stayed healthy. Okay. And it's one of the things that I'm looking at now. I was just informed of something that may enable me to finally puts my brain back together. And yeah, there is no way I'm going to try and fit into this world. I finally gave up on that. Football goes, they're lost when Facebook is down. Yeah, Adam Scott, I have a copy of Volkswagen Monopoly. I think I'll be okay in a power outage. See, the advantage I've got isn't actually my ability. My advantage is I happen to know somebody that can handle any sort of outage because, well, frankly, grew up in the outback. Well, grew up in the woods. For me, it's very simple. The more you can get around people that are happy, the less your stress level is going to matter. And if we keep your stress level down, blood pressure comes down. When I talk about cutting toxins out of your system, I'm not talking about just the poisons that are put into the food. Okay. Many of the medications, and before I say this, Okay, understand something. If you're on medication for whatever illness you've got, whether you like the medication or not is irrelevant. Okay, if you're on a medication and it's doing the job, stay on it, but start looking at foods that you can eat that you can actually bring your health up in spite of it. If you're under the care of a doctor, stay working with them. If they're even half the doctor they should be, when they do blood work, as you straighten your own system out, the medication will indicate that it's overloading. And if the doctor's got a reasonable head on his shoulders, he will pull it back. Yeah, Adam, what do we got? Oh, Adam says we found the Volkswagen Monopoly still in its packaging for $20. Okay, which is absolutely great. That was one of the other things. And admittedly, I don't play board games at home. But then my son lives on the computer and I'm writing all the time. Yes, I do take time out to go and spend time with him. Like I said, Cowie, absolutely. Battleship, chess, checkers. I used to play chess a lot. Now the problem is I actually have forgotten a lot of it. Back when I was a kid, my little brother actually won the North Island Chess Championships. Funny part about it is I actually trained him. But I was trained by my older brother. But it's been way too long since I've played chess, and I've forgotten an incredible amount of it. Of the strategy and what have you. But I have considered going back in and finding a program on TV on the computer, either to play basic amateur chess to start with. I just don't know where to find it. Okay, like that's one online game that I wouldn't mind getting back into. I can track. There's absolutely nothing wrong with competition. There is something wrong with getting a free pass in life. And of course, way back, I remember lifetimes when I would go, I want to get this done. And they say, great, no problem. You desire to become a crack shot. Here's a bow and arrows. Here's how to do it. Now, practice, practice, practice. You can still do the same thing today. I remember my brother used to play darts. Okay, he quit after he died. Actually, he quit after he had a stroke. But I was walking through the pub one day with him, and a guy was pushing for him to play darts. And my brother's going, I don't want to play today. I'm spending time with my brother. I'm not playing darts. And the guy kept pushing him. My brother, he looks at the stack of darts, picks one up. Now, the dartboard's over here. My brother picks up the dart. I kid you not. He looks at it and goes, I don't want to play darts. He sunk it in the heart of the dartboard. Guy turned around and walked away. You can get that good if you put the effort into it. Okay. There's a lot of ways of doing it. Philosophy, I can work with quite readily. Henry goes, I have a Japanese-styled sword. I still have playing time practice during powder outage. Yeah, no doubt. And Cowie's going, I'm rusty too at these games. And that's the whole thing. Like I used to play my brother, right, over the phone before internet ever became an issue. And we'd set a chess game up in each of our houses. And then we do it by King's Bishop 2 to King's Bishop 4. That's how we played. Oh, there we go. Henry goes, it's made in China, but it's patterned after a Japanese katana. One day, when I've got a few thousand spare dollars, I do intend on going to Scotland and buying a claymore. Okay, like an actual medieval claymore. Okay, at the very minimal, I'll buy a modern one patterned after it. I don't know if I can find an actual one anymore. You know, the reality of it is that you can take a look at whatever past life you had. The only thing I caution you on, today's world has become very unforgiving when it comes to displaying differences. I mean, sure, they go, I'm not that because I don't relate to that. I'm telling you, that's a problem. Okay. We're looking at striving to make a unified world. Well, we gotta find ways to stop separating ourselves and stop focusing on differences. Every one of you is different in one way or another. In a past life, maybe you're the nicest person that you have ever been, that anybody's ever met this lifetime. But in a past life, you may well have been an absolute twisted, sadistic individual. Part of why we are the way we are this lifetime is because of what we went through in the last ones. Okay. And this lifetime itself has one thing going for it. No, I'm talking about the Henry. I'm talking about the one, the two-hander, 35 pounds of solid steel. Okay, also known as the Knight's Killer. And we have friendly people outside. But whatever you put your heart to, you can actually make that happen. I intend on facilitating a lot of that as much as I can. Okay. I used to, I've got a bloke in here that I used to be able to work with really well. Unfortunately, after my stroke, my left arm doesn't respond quite the right way. Well, yeah, I miss the birds too. But, neat part there, football. Right now, it's pouring rain outside. So the birds have all huddled down into their little nests. It's funny. We've got a bunch of dryer vents up beside our house, like up on the other floors. And most of them are occupied by birds. Most of them they're wonderful little people. Okay, I've got a whole bunch of little quail that live right outside my window. But the second it starts pouring rain, like when it gets bad, they'll hide underneath it and stay warm and relatively dry. Now, I'm hoping that, I mean, it'd be wonderful to have a peregrine and a falcon there. Individuals, hate is definitely a bad word for it. I used to be terrified of horses. Gentlest animals you can run across, almost. Very majestic, very proud lineage. But unfortunately, I used to be terrified of them. I used to be terrified of dogs. Of course, the dogs I could understand. At 4 years old, I had a full-size collie bite me here. Of course, the problem was he started here. Okay, terrified me until I was about 13. A barking dachshund would freeze me in my tracks. Now I get along with pretty much any animal. Okay, matter of fact, they are. Average horse there, football. Average horse is 15 feet. Average adult normal horse is 15 hands, or 60 inches, if you will. Also known as 5 feet at the shoulder. Okay, but when where it comes to animals now, I get along with most of them quite nicely. I will talk to them I get along with them better than I do most people. Okay, so do I hate any of them? No. On the other hand, I'm not stupid enough to go out and pick the wild ones up. But the best one I ever ran into, the one that really stood out, was I had the pleasure way back. Some of you my age will remember this chap, guy by the name of Farley Mowat. Okay, he brought seagulls I talked to, they're a riot. But no, Farley Mowat brought his purebred timber wolf to my school when I was a kid, and I got the pleasure of actually meeting the little pup. But years later in Kelowna, I was walking down the street and I saw this sign on a house. It says, "Forget the dog, the Black Panther ate it." The guy had a live adult Black Panther living in his house in downtown Kelowna. I'm standing there looking at this thing, and he popped out, and boy, was I lucky. He pops out, and the owner pops out, and he goes, "Would you like to come and meet him?" And I'm like, well, there's an offer I just cannot pass up. So I had the absolute pleasure of petting a live adult Black Panther. Okay, I'll tell you, if you think that the cat has a low rumble when they purr, that's nothing compared to a Black Panther. Okay, and so I've dealt with that. Of course, I had the pleasure of rescuing a whole pile of quail. Dumb birds, I kid you. I tell you, they've got to be some of the densest, but really nice people. Yeah, football goes, I saw a zebra on a farm in South Texas. Animals, I really do enjoy animals. Okay. I get along with most of them. The person does my income tax. Yeah, that can be a little bit of a shock, can't it, there, Frost? The lady that does my income tax, I met her because her dog wanted to come and talk to me. And again, when we take a look at it, a lot of that I bring with me from past lives, because I spent a lot of time during the so-called Salem witch hunts. I was a witch hunter. I was a warlock. I worked for the government. But what I did that I didn't tell the government was I'd go in, find out which witches were actually, find out which witch was which. But I'd find out the ones that were being decent, the ones that were actually midwives, actually herbalists, actually veterinarians. And those ones I would identify. Quite often they really do, football. I spent a lot of time dealing with pets, both pets that are alive and pets that have passed over. But yes, pets love to communicate with their owners. Problem is, most owners don't understand pet. Like, they don't understand the language. In my case, I do. But before you go there, before you go down that road, I find it far easier to communicate with the animals and find out what they're up to than I do if I'm local. Okay. But every animal, no more than other races, and rest assured, humans are not the worst ones for cursing. Okay. You take a look at the dwarven race, those guys are just, they're phenomenal at it. Okay. But if you think about it, decades back, the word hell was the worst word in the spoken language. That was an absolute, I'm going to get you sent to hell if you ever uttered that word. When I was a kid, that was the worst of it. Now nobody even thinks about it. Uh-oh. Derek goes, "Help, I'm stuck." I hate to be the one to tell you this, Derek, but I'm really not in any position to do much with that. But I gotta ask where you got stuck and why. Obviously, you got stuck because you went to the wrong place, or a situation arose that you weren't ready for. Hopefully, aside from being stuck, there's nothing wrong. Oh, I just caught this. Frost Kitten goes, that she had seen the Black Panther laying outside her fence in Florida as a kid. Her mom was real nice, okay, and woke her up so that she could see it. That's an absolute necessary little item. That's when you know your parents have gone out of their way, okay, because that's a memory you're going to take until you drop dead. Oh, Well, best I can tell you there is I'd recommend, assuming you have, and the fact you're here, my guess is you've got email or got Wi-Fi. So my suggestion, and it's really redundant, you probably thought of it already, is you call, at the very least, call the police and tell them you're stuck. Yeah, that can be a lot of fun. Raccoons are a wonderful animal. We've got a couple around here that come in. Yeah. There goes, these people in my condo were a joke. Well, this is why I said football. Or no, football, my apologies. This is why I said, Derek, you call the non-emergency police number. They'll come in and sort it out. Whether other people like it or not, they'll make it happen. Chad's just adding, man, I've been stuck in an equipment elevator, and it's scary. Yeah, Adam goes, I'd love a raccoon. It could be my trucking buddy. I will tell you, they don't handle being inside for too terribly long. Yeah, that's an even better way. Yeah, they'll bill the landlord. But on the other hand, Chad's just going, Derek, call the fire department. They'll bill your landlord. Oh, perfect, Derek. It's things like that can throw people for a loop. I've got a buddy that I would not want to be stuck I wouldn't want to be trapped in an elevator. Okay. The reason for it is the guy is an extreme claustrophobe. You don't want him pinned into an elevator. Yeah, that's what I've got in football. I live on the main floor. Like I live on the ground floor. I can crawl out my balcony onto the ground. So I guess it'd be called a patio at this point. I figure bad leg, no stairs, no yard work, 3 bedrooms, all on one floor. I don't even have to worry about it. That is no fun, Chad. Not an experience I'd like to deal with. Yeah, usually they don't have very good airflow in an elevator, but it's funny you're talking about being stuck in an elevator. I was just watching Die Hard today. Die Hard, and the other one I was watching was Expendables 3. Yeah, Expendables 3. Again, they show you the elevators, but I'd never want to get stuck in one, but thank you very much. But again, and this is why I say, we've gone a little sideways, which is absolutely fine. Christine, how you doing? Glad you could join us. Past lives they absolutely have an influence on today's world. Many of the things that happened in the past. Not a problem there, Christine. Life does get in the way. Presumably, you've been busier than heck today. Absolutely, Derek, and we are really happy you did and that you are here. The nice part about it, and again, this is where this little family in here comes in really convenient. Here you have, now we've got, you're stuck in an elevator there, Derek, and we have what? We've got 13, you're stuck in an elevator with 14 people. Okay. Oh, yeah. As far as I go, Christine, things are actually turning around quite nicely. I am finding new and exciting ways to make things happen a little better. So it really boils down to, the fact that with your guys' encouragement and seeing things like this is phenomenal. Derek comes in and goes, help, I'm stuck in an elevator. And all kinds of people are going, hey, here's a little bit of support. We can't do anything physically, but at least we can offer moral support. Poor Cole, he's just had as near as I can figure, as anybody can figure, I haven't gotten final word on it, but I'm wondering if there was a message left. At this point, what do we got? No, at this point, no new news. Okay, but Cole Wegleitner is a friend of mine, well, an acquaintance of mine anyway, and unfortunately, it seems he had a stroke today. I've already had one, not happy. Wasn't happy with that one. Heart attacks I can deal with, they're easy. But, strokes, those are a pain. Now, refresh that and see what pops. And in there, so all in all, and where are we looking? Holy mackerel. Totally lost track of time, guys. See, Derek, this is what happens. You get stuck in an elevator and we lose track of time. But that being said, unfortunately, Derek, I'm not going to be able to stick around because my throat is starting to seize. But I'm absolutely thinking of you. And I do hope that things, drop me a line, let me know how things popped out. Okay. The firemen are already on their way. Those are people that they're going to come. They will drag you and they will pull you out of there. Terry's going, don't leave me. But, from that standpoint, the reality of it is that working together, we can make this a better world. Okay. And absolutely, if you'd like a copy of the newsletter, just let me know, hard copy or email. All I need to know is where to send it. That being said, absolutely take care of yourselves and each other until we meet again. Until then, for pity's sakes, stay positive.